Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live Filmmaker Q&A for Shorts Block 3. It is the 25th anniversary of the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, and we are so excited because we have a shoggoth load of filmmakers joining in these Q&As with us. And here to talk with us tonight are Ben Floss and crew. I'll let you guys introduce yourself at some point. And they made Getaway. We have Michael and Sarah, who are the collective Monsieur Sir, who made Secluse, the stop motion film. Ivan Basov, who made Exit. Jero Maida III, who made The Lesser Key of Solomon. Dan Hickey and Libby Peterson, who made The Door at the Edge of Reality. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we're really excited that you could join us, because what really makes the festival for us is all the people. And it really was hard to wrap our heads around the fact that we weren't going to be able to have our festival in person. So we really appreciate everyone taking the time out and being up at weird hours and things to join us on our Zoom calls. So I'm going to go around and just kind of call on each team of people, each window of people, and just start you off with a question. So I'm going to go in the order that I see you on my screen, and that is The Getaway is first. Hi.
Hey. I'm Ben. I'm Michael Lipton. I was the DP on Getaway.
And Zach Hines, producer, gaffer.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
So Getaway is a fun, weird with a capital W movie with a very strong cosmic horror taint to it. What was the impetus for this film? Did you just, I guess, talk to me about the story itself and how you arrived at that?
Well, that came around. I was staying with my parents in an Airbnb out in Joshua Tree, so in the desert. And when we got there, the ceiling fan above one of the beds, as we opened the door, just fell where, right onto the pillow where one of our heads would have been. And then we found a nest of black widows and a whole bunch of other big scary bugs. And we were like, all right. And so that kind of planted the idea of, so what's the worst thing that could happen at an Airbnb? And I've always been very interested in cosmic horror, and so it kind of it evolved from, maybe there's cult elements to, I thought it'd just be fun if the property had to feed on guests. So that's kind of where the idea gestated from, was a particularly bad Airbnb experience.
And speaking of feeding on guests, how did you arrive at that particular design for the horrible creature in the basement?
I was playing around with it for a while with the guy who wound up animating it, and we really wanted to have something that was just shocking and out of left field for the end to kind of really hit home that it is devouring people. And so we were looking at blind tunnel snakes and slugs, and I'm just grossed out by tongues in general. And so kind of combining those motions and that texture to make something that would just be shocking to see was how that came about.
It's interesting because there was a film that played in the Shorts Block earlier. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch any of the films, called The Galls, that also had, it's not the same idea, but it's a similar physical apparatus where there's a hallway in, almost looks like a mine shaft, or a mine tunnel in the house that leads somewhere else to this extra liminal space that has a thing at the end of it, but it's different. It's different. So I'm not going to spoil it in case you guys haven't had a chance to watch that one. But it was interesting to us how many movies this year that we got that we could have paired them together because of these elements in common. It's really interesting.
That would have been awesome to have a little double feature. The
Yeah.
at the end of the hallway.
The hallway walk.
So I'm going to move on to Monsieur Sir, Michael and Sarah. And I am familiar with your film because I've seen it before, but it is stop motion, and you tend to work a lot in stop motion. Tell us about this particular film and the story that is behind that horrible monster in the woods.
So, yeah, we wanted to do a forest fire. We wanted to do something that was kind of impossible to do under the conditions that we were in, and doing an impossibly designed set within a 72-hour time period. The story comes from someone mentioning that there is a series of 3 fires, I believe called the Tillamook Burns, that happened 6 years apart in Oregon. And the general concept of the film was the idea of loneliness, even being around people. This was before COVID, so this was a sense of self-isolation within individuals, and that a burn or a forest fire, we've had forest fires here in Oregon, so this was again before that happened, as a sort of idea of a cleansing. And the lead character is also suffering from some illness, but is drawn to this forest. And the subtext of this is that this organism that's protected living in the lake has influenced and grown integrated with the forest around it for millions of years. And so little bits of it are in all the life forms, including people that have gone off and, you know, gone into the world. And all these little pieces come back to the lake, and it pulls them back in. And so the sense of loneliness, of being disconnected from the world, from other people, and then coming to this lake and losing yourself, your body, your physical body, but being reconnected to this organism as a sort of cure for loneliness, I guess. So yeah, that's basically it.
Interesting. So it's an interesting look at yeah, like what perceived loneliness and death as being not necessarily a negative thing, but then a rejoining with a whole, but at the same time a little frightening because you're not, as humans living the way we do,
Yeah.
on 2 feet with 2 eyes,
Yeah, the
have
loss
no, huh?
the loss of self. That was the
Yeah.
cost. To lose your loneliness is to lose yourself.
Okay. But yeah, but that idea of then rejoining with a greater whole sounds inviting, but the unknown quality of it also inspires fear. So it's really nice. Thank you. So you did that for the 72-hour film competition.
Yes.
And so you created all the armatures, built all the sets, animated everything, did the score, rendered it, edited it, finished it in all in 3 days.
Well, we had some more people than just us two.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
We have a team.
Yeah. I think there was about 10 people for that.
Yeah.
They kind of come and go, but yeah, a lot of crafters. I do armatures and crafting. But yeah, there's a lot to do in those 72 hours. Not a lot of sleep.
Yeah. And to be fair, the version that you see is a polished version, and there's a few extra shots that we wanted to throw in that make things a little clearer, but we didn't build anything new. The sets and all the characters were already built and everything. And I'd say 90% of what you see, we did in 72 hours.
Fun. I'm going to move on to Ivan. Ivan, your film is clearly very influenced by Lovecraftian cosmic horror. Talk about, or tell us about the story behind it, and how you decided to make a film where these construction workers find like the never-ending closet.
Well, when I was about 15, I think I read the Dreams in the Witch House by HBL, and the whole concept of non-Euclidean geometry kind of stuck with me since then. Then some years later, I read Mark Z. Danilevsky's House of Leaves, which also explored the concept, and it stuck with me again. And then some years later, I got into a film school and had the necessity to make a thesis film and come up with a script, the story, and somehow I managed to resurrect this love for this particular concept in my head and tried to wrap a story around it. And I also tried to use like not your typical characters for a genre story, not like a young family moving into a house or like a bunch of teenagers moving in there. So had to do it fairly fast, like in only in a few months, and then do all the preparation and then eventually shoot it. But well, things turned out fine, and I'm kind of glad that I had that experience. I guess that's about it.
Okay. I'm curious about the because that space follows the main character from the construction site to his home.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, sorry, there wasn't a question. There was not actually a question phrase in there, but I'm curious about why the closet or the space that appears in the construction site then later also appears in his home. Is that something that's supposed to be connected to him, or is it something?
Yeah,
that
sure. I mean, it's there for him. It's his exit, as like I think the last line of the movie says. It's the it was there for him all along, and that's why it kind of all of the other people who got inside, even though they were damaged, but they kind of survived and they were released. But the goal of the doorway was to grab the main character, to take him out of the circumstances of his life.
Okay, nice. Gonna move on to Jero.
Hi.
Am I saying your name right?
Yarrow, like more like with a
Yarrow.
Y.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. No, it's absolutely fine.
Yarrow. So the Lesser Key of Solomon is a really interesting depiction of someone trying to perform a ritual to resurrect their dead family member, and it's very different from what we're used to seeing. I think we tend to see a lot of things where it's like very stylized and there's a lot of attention paid to the decor and the setting, whereas yours was very like I always had the feeling there was like a wind whipping around him, but there wasn't. Was that something that you set out to do? Is like, I want to show something that's, this ritual that's very like a force of nature and dangerous.
Absolutely. This is the problem that the main character has, is that he's sort of unknowingly unleashed something that it's impossible for him to control, and everything he tries to do, it gets worse and worse and worse, and he only has one outlet, one friend to actually help him try to figure this out, and the more he tries to figure it out, just the worse and worse it gets. And it is just a force of nature that you simply cannot control, and it's something that it's inevitable basically for him. So he there's no way for him to stop it. There's no way for him to basically do anything. He really shouldn't have called upon these forces in the first place, and as a result of this, yeah, we know what happens. So yeah, he loses everything basically.
It seems like you just filmed that in like one location with kind of a stripped down set, I guess.
Yeah, very.
I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it's a simple piece but effective. And was that just a limitation of your budget, or did you just find a space that was like, this would be a perfect place to shoot a thing?
No, actually, yeah, no, that was on purpose. So that was absolutely premeditated. I really love the Resident Evil games. I grew up with some of these Resident Evil games, and I really wanted to create like this room that looked exactly like one of the levels of Resident Evil. And because this is his last hope, his last chance. He has nowhere else to go. So this is his last stand. So it made a lot of sense for, you know, it to take place just in this one room, because this is it. He's he's exhausted all of his opportunities, and this is his last stand. So.
And I don't know about everyone else, but I kept expecting something to catch on fire because when he was filling the generator, like he spilled gas all over himself and all over
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah. A little bit longer probably would have happened, but he lost before that happened. But yeah, probably would have happened.
All right, I'm gonna move on to Dan and Libby. And yeah, you can, either one of you can speak. It's okay, both of you can speak. So you made The Door at the Edge of Reality, which is another ritual being performed, and a different kind of setup for this one. And was yours also made for a film contest?
It was, yeah. It was for the Seattle 48-hour horror tour. Yeah, it was last year that we produced it, and it quite literally was 48 hours. We found out our genre was Lovecraftian horror on a Friday evening, and then it was due Sunday evening, all edited. But yes, I lament that, yes, there was not much sleeping going on. On that
And
weekend.
did you also have a required prop and line of dialogue?
Yes, we did. I'll let Dan speak to that if you remember.
Yeah. That's always the part that kills me, because the one line that's so I have 8 ideas and all of them bad. It always everybody feels like that's inserted because it was inserted.
Yeah.
The prop was the shot glass. The 3 girls had the shot glass, and she was supposed to be a spray paint artist named
Yeah,
Alex.
the main character, we had to make sure that Alexandra DeVries, who was a spray painter, was shown in the film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Man, they
but
make it tricky.
Requirements.
They do. We were psyched to get Lovecraft out. I forget. I think we had a choice of that or something else. And me, at least, as the writer, I think we had a small discussion, but we were all on board right away. And yeah, it was fun. It was the FX guy did a great job in 48 hours. Danny Brown. And yeah, it was, I think one of the things we tried to bring to it was adding just a tech and social media element to Lovecraft, which I'm sure other people have done, but I hadn't seen it before. So that was kind of something we felt, at least in our world, was a little new.
Nice. Yeah, it is interesting how new technologies kind of worm their way into most, I think, horror films first. Usually, like it seems like horror films are usually on the front edge of all the trends that then you start to see everywhere else. But there is another short film that we have that's the main character is a social media influencer, and so she's always like making Instagram updates and taking selfies and things. So.
Yeah, we figure we can get a lot of chanting if it's social and worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine. So that's interesting. The spray paint artist, because one of the things that really stood out was that symbol that was spray painted on the door. Is that something that you created or that you found?
So we had a prop artist, and I believe he already had that symbol spray painted on the door that you saw at the end. And so I think we just carried it throughout the film because it was already there. And it was a prop that we just used, and then we carried it on, and we didn't, because we wanted to get a shot of her spray painting for sure, and we wanted something simple enough that just anyone could kind of pick up. So yeah, that's kind of where we went with that symbol and how it came about.
Happy coincidences.
Yes.
Very nice. There's like a bunch of questions in the chat window here. I'm gonna just go ahead and throw some of these in here. Twisted Tentacle, his question is for The Getaway. The portrayal of the couple's relationship problems is so well done, and it seems like there would be no fixing the relationship. But when things start to go bad, it all goes away, and the couple, for a moment, gets emotionally closer to each other than they probably have ever been. Was part of your film's message intended to not just show the insignificance of mankind in the face of the mythos, but also the insignificance of minor relationship arguments in the face of mankind's greater problems.
I think that was part of it. It was that more came about just because I think relationship squabbles tend to take second seat to guy with a shotgun. That's what made sense to me, and it felt more emotionally impactful to have the relationship come to this is danger, and there's only one other person here, and we may not really like each other right now, but right now we're all the other one has. And so it's kind of that like that idea of like the last embrace before certain doom, just some sort of comfort.
It did seem to me like like when they first get there, she is just not into it.
Not at all.
You can tell. But then when he wakes up with the rash, like she's like, oh my God, what's wrong? Like she gets very concerned.
Yeah.
And you kind of get a sense of that loss of the annoyance kind of drops away, or whatever resentments or things that were between them kind of drops away in the face of like, oh, he's hurt. And you get a sense that she really does care about him. Just kind of nice. There's that flip.
Yeah, I like exploring the theme of just because you may not keep loving someone the way you do, you still care about them as a person, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's like, even if you don't have the same relationship with someone that you did, you're not wishing them harm. You still have something. There's still a person for you and with you.
And there's actually another question for you guys. What's next? Can you talk a little bit about the caretaker and his relationship to this universe? He seems tied to the basement dwelling creature.
Yeah, there was a lot more that I wanted to explore with him, just because I really like to do world building when I write my scripts, and he was a very integral part of the property's interactions with the outside world. I wish that I had been able to more incorporate some of the more like connective or psychological cosmic elements between this otherworldly entity and its human host, but the short was much more focused on Brandon and Holly's relationship and their struggle to try and stay alive, and so a lot of that didn't end up making it into the production.
Yeah.
So
no, we could really only touch upon it very subliminally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we gave it our best.
Yeah. No, I mean it's there. You feel it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it wound up working out really well, just because instead of trying to explain his emotions towards what's happening and explain what's happening to him, we're just getting kind of the brunt effect and then an aftermath.
It's one massive oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, because he seems like, it doesn't seem like he's a necessarily willing participant in all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's the familiar, essentially, to
Yeah.
the entity.
Yeah.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Okay, there's a question for the exit. He says, it felt like the influence of dreams in the witch house was very prominent in the film, but I also caught a nod to Event Horizon, especially when Roma returns from the darkness beyond. Was that movie an influence for that sequence?
Well, certainly it was not a direct reference, but it may have been a subconscious one because, well, I'd seen the movie. Of course, it's a well-known cosmic horror movie, like everybody knows it, everybody's seen it. But the answer is no. It's just probably just a Lovecraftian trope that that became like the origin of the sequence, but not an actual existing movie.
And in your film, well, there's actually another question right here. What was in the blackness? A void, something waiting for the protagonist from his past?
Well, I think the whole idea was for the audience to try and figure it out on their own. I'm not giving a direct answer to that. It's not interesting.
And then when you filmed your film, was that an actual construction site that you filmed in?
Yeah, it was. We got lucky, and we did actually found this place on the second day of location scouting, and it was like the first day we saw a place that would be workable, but it wasn't great, and we saw a place that totally didn't work at all. And then the next day, we found, well, the place we eventually were able to use, and it was cheap. The location didn't ask much money for us, and the layout of the rooms, everything worked nicely for the film, and we shot that location for like 4 days. Um, Somehow it was actually very easy to find it. We just went and found it on the second day. For that I thank the, I don't know, Cthulhu, the heavens, the devil, whatever. So really got lucky out there.
For Libby and Dan, I had a thought occurred to me that you don't often see at the Lovecraft movies, usually an all female cast. And was that a conscious decision, or was that just happened to be the people that were available to help you with the film that day, that weekend? Because I know that sometimes you have to take what you can get, but I'm just curious if that was something that you had kind of set out to, if that was
yeah, I don't know if we necessarily set out for an all-female cast. But when we kind of found out like who was on board, we were like, okay, this is gonna work, because it's not often that you do see an all-female cast. So it was good that we could kind of roll with it. And I'll pass it off to Dan if he has any thoughts on that.
No, I was assigned. They told me, they told me who I had. They said 4 women. It was great. It was great. Jacob, the director, was really kind to kind of invite me in and chat with them, even though it was such a short time. So I got to talk to them a bit, about what I thought their roles were, but they were great. I mean, I thought all 4 of them, were fantastic. I guess 3 you see more than the 4th, but
yeah.
Totally lucked out. Libby and team did a good job recruiting.
Yeah, so we all kind of, it was kind of a tight-knit crew of all of us who essentially work professionally in corporate video. So doing something like this was like something really fun that we could all put ourselves into. I know 2 of the women in the cast from work. 2 of them are actually coworkers of mine. And then the other one is a friend of mine from college. She was a roommate, and she traveled across the state to come play this lead role, and she did amazing. So
that's awesome. There's another question for you. Did you find it difficult to balance the horror elements with the Mean Girls elements?
That's a great question. I love that. I don't know, Libby, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. It was hard to, I'd say the hardest part about it was just the time that we had to keep the girls there and keeping them in character, throughout the day, because they had a long night the night before just doing those special effects props. So I'd say the challenge more than anything was just keeping everyone's spirits high, because it was a long production day, and the cast had a long night before that, just making sure the props were ready for the next day. So
yeah, and I'll say as the writer, I was just, I'm primarily involved in the beginning for 48 hours. So I was just drinking a lot that night and just feel like I channeled my inner mean girl as well as I could.
I mean, it feels like there's not a long history, but it's, there's a tradition of Mean Girls in horror, like The Craft and Jawbreaker to a certain extent.
Great tradition. Yeah.
So
I mean, I think it was fun for the 3 of them to kind of, it's always hard one writer to have kind of three different roles and voices. And I think they did a really good job. I mean, they were distinctive even in a short film, and you kind of have a clear sense of the hierarchy there.
Thank you. Let's see. Oh, there's another question for the getaway, not the getaway. Can you talk about how you captured that mouth of madness? It looks practical, but would love to hear a little about how you incorporated practical and CGI effects in your film.
Absolutely, it was a practical miniature that we constructed. Our set designer made a giant wall of flesh to drape over it. And do you want to talk about how it was lit?
Oh, well, using force perspective, we were able to use the miniature to make it feel like a much larger thing. And basically, we had some very large lights on the sides, and someone at Variac controllers to bring those up and make it all pulse and move. It was a lot of fun.
We did it in 3 sections. So there's the first version that was pulsating and kind of like what we decided was like the doorway, which was a Lico with, I think it was like party red that we just kept flipping over until it was the right intensity of red. Yeah. And then we just kind of pounded that and played around a lot. That was a great day. And that was our like one studio day to like really try stuff out. And we had everything on like a doorway dolly and just kept shooting down this tunnel. So yeah, we did that. And then the second one was when we had the red door set up, and then we started pulsating in the sides. And then the third one was just the full bright, where we brought everything up, and we had to keep switching everything around because we didn't have enough dimmers for the amount of juice we were pulling. But yeah, because of that, we got to do a lot of different versions. And that was honestly the one day where we weren't running around constantly trying to like chase our own tail. So we finally had a chance to be like, what if we did like a Zolly? What if, we tried this kind of pulsation? What if we did this? So it finally felt like a day where we could like learn a little more about our chops and like just play. Yeah, so it's kind of, what I don't know, is there anything else from doing that?
Well, it was between that, setting up the practical, and then getting on and off the phone with Tim, our animator, and just being like, hey, we're gonna shoot it this way. Here's some stills. Talk about how we're gonna animate it. Animate the tongue coming out, and just being as mindful as we could for how it was going to be put together in post-production, so that we wouldn't shoot ourselves in the foot by shooting something cool and then being like, great, now what do we do with it?
Oh my God, yeah, the whole thing was just like, I remember just sweating it from the beginning because I'd never shot anything force perspective, and I hadn't shot anything like a miniature like that, because it's not small. It's definitely like you could crawl to the end of it, but
like 10 feet.
Yeah, it's still pretty big. Yeah, no, it was just a lot of meetings and a lot of just figuring out how to do it. Like we start off and we had no idea how to do it, and by the end we're just kind of playing around with the tools we assembled to figure it out. Yeah.
Cool. So there's another effects question for Yarrow. Sean Marrier asked about he said the wonderful shadows in your piece, are they practical or CGI?
So actually it was, we had 3 stand-ins while we were shooting. And then after, we had to actually reshoot the one actor acting every single shadow movement. And then that became the actual shadow itself. So it was like completely keyed out, but it's a person in a costume in like some type of like head to toe black see-through nylon with like elongated fingers, and the dimensions are just a little not quite like almost human, but not exactly. Things are a little longer, a little shorter, and so this was keyed out and basically duplicated. And even like him crawling up the wall or anything like that was all shot with an actor and then composited together later. So it was the original plan was everything would be CGI, but that just really didn't work out, and it looked so much better with an actual actor, a real person, acting out these movements. So no, this was a much better way to do it for us. But yeah, it was a real actor.
Nice. It usually does. It usually does look better. It's real.
For sure, way better. Yeah, way better.
It's interesting because one of the things we talk about in weird tales and in films is the uncanny valley, and how your brain, like your eye, can, even though something looks really good, you can usually distinguish like there's something not quite real about that thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
sometimes that can be
Absolutely.
used to advantage, but sometimes the real thing is better.
Yeah, no, for sure. We tried it, the other way, but it was just, it was clear that it's so much better if it's an actual actor. So, yeah.
Nice. So there's a question for Secluse. In 72 hours, how did you get everyone on your team to see your vision and get on the same page?
Oh my gosh, lots of arguments.
One of the tricks is that we all kind of brainstorm at first, and we don't actually have the story pinned down. So the artists start crafting, and it's not intentional, but it works. And it's a little bit surreptitious because then Michael sort of plans and,
Wrangles.
Yeah, festers and changes. And
I'm dynamically changing things based on everything. Like, there was, through previous teams that I've worked with, there's like, we need storyboards. And I'm like, I can't give you a storyboard because I'm not going to get married to a shot until I can see this aspect of it. So
and there isn't time in 72
hours.
Yeah,
there isn't.
And a lot of times we think the story is one way, and then the next day we wake up and the story is completely changed. Michael's like, no, this is what we're going to do.
This is very key. This is everything that rests on the shot.
But at the same time, we're just crafting because the animation doesn't really happen until the last 24 hours, through the night. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes we don't even know what the story is. He's just like, these are the shots,
Just because I have it lying here because I moved it out of its cage. This is the doula. So you can kind of get a look at it. And the person that crafted this did an amazing job. She worked from sketches that I provided her for what I kind of wanted it to look like. And I was really skeptical that she would get this, but this is the greatest action figure I've ever played with.
It's hard to really see, but I was really impressed with her job. Anyways.
Wow. That's horrifying. I'm gonna have nightmares if I get any sleep tonight.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Anyone anyone on Discord have any other questions? There's probably time for one more question. Any of you guys have questions for each other? No. It's okay.
I have one for the group. And we can all answer this, or maybe just one group can answer it, whatever you guys think. What was the hardest part, or what was the biggest obstacle you had to get through in each of your films?
I would say for me personally, it was the VFX aspect. So this was something that for sure, it was meticulously planned, but nonetheless, once you get into post-production, there are all kinds of things that you just really didn't see coming. And so it was really like kind of trying to figure out, how to fix this problem or how to make it better, just how to put it all together. And despite the fact that it was, meticulously planned, I was really surprised at how challenging that truly was. And since it's such a important aspect of the short, it's it's centered around it. So it was very stressful to really try to get it together and make sure that it's exactly what we're trying to do. And ultimately we did. But yeah, I think that would be the hardest part of the whole process for me, was the VFX aspect.
I'd say for us, it was the set. Also because I knew it was going to be the most complicated set I'd ever designed, because it has 5 different layers, from the background forest to the fire, the front forest to the beach, to the water, to the underwater section. That's all one set that I designed that we had to film in and around the whole set. And then having to get fire to work. All of it's practical fire that's actually in camera, no CG. There's nothing overlaid on it. All the fire that you see in that film is shot just within the stop motion. It is not fake.
Right.
Well, it's fake,
But it's not fire.
Yeah, it's not fire,
Yeah.
but it's real,
Yeah.
real fake fire.
Yeah.
How about you, Ivan?
Well, for me, the most challenging thing, I mean, it happened a while ago. I don't really remember, but I certainly do remember the scheduling problems. Like the guy who played Uncle Cordia, I wanted him for 4 full shooting days, but he could only give us 3. So schedule it in such a way his shots would be done like in 3 days, and those first 3 days were at least 16 hours long, like each of them, and that was tiring, certainly. And that seemed right now that actually I think that was the difficult part about it. They're just working really hard for long hours.
Getaway?
Yeah, hardest thing would have to been chasing Dusklight for 3 days in a row.
Yeah, chasing the sun. As much as Zach is a miracle worker when it comes to lighting, but whatever wriggling tooth in the sky is controlling the sun really didn't like us. So that was a fun thing to try and chase back and forth for 3 days in a row.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that definitely, I think, like every day after about 3, once we got like the right arc on the sun, we could go outside and shoot, and it was just every single time like gotta run. How many more shots are there? Okay, cool. Let's do this. I think we can combine these two. All right, keep going. Wait a minute. That shadow's really creeping up on us. Let's run over there real quick. Cool.
Yeah.
Gotta run.
To the point where it was just like,
Are you happy with this, Ben? Ben, is this good?
Our AD was coming over to me being like, all right, we got 10 shots left. And even I was going, we got 10?
Like, wait, I thought we said 5. What's going on?
Who planned this movie?
We had a meeting. What happened? We had a revision meeting. What happened?
So yeah, the sun.
Yeah, the sun was not a friend. Quick, push him back. The shadow's catching up. Maybe no one will be able to tell. All right, quick, move him a little bit more. All right, cool. We still got a key. Okay, yeah, that was every day after like 3 o'clock.
Cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about you, Libby and Dan? What was the most difficult part?
I'd have to say, yeah, ours was probably weather related as well. In true PNW spirit, it rained like crazy on our shoot day. So we tried to get as much as we could done in the morning, but a good amount of our film needed to be filmed during the evening, during the dark, and we had a period of time where we just had to stop down because our special effects weren't going to work until the rain went away. And we got like a 2 or 3 hour window, like it was between, I think, 7 and 10 p.m. that we just shot everything we could at night. And it was a challenge in post because, and this was something that we couldn't really fix. And we never got around to reshooting. Just because it got too cold to plan a reshoot and to revise the film. It was just, it became winter and we didn't have time to revise our film, but we essentially shot a good portion of our show in the daytime, and then we just had to put like a spinning clock in the middle, and then it was nighttime. So that was just what we had to do. That was our workaround for it. But yes, the weather rained on us.
The hazards, yes, the hazards of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
So this isn't really, well, it's kind of a question for Yarrow, but in a strange concordance, in Lesser Key, Marbus is the main demon that you reference. And for Portland Horror every year, we have like we have a patron, and this year we chose Marbus because he's the plague demon. Why did you choose Marbus?
As I was flipping through the various demons in the Lesser Key of Solomon, he just kind of really stuck out to me because If you call upon him, he will give you all the knowledge that you want. He will, tell you everything that you want to hear. He seemed kind of like benevolent in a way. So all the other ones were, if you call upon them, I mean, God knows what's going to happen. But I don't know. Marvis kind of seemed like the kind of the nice, kinder one, the one that I would probably call upon because at least he gives you intelligence, and he it seems like all of his attributes are very positive. And I guess that could be said with most of them, but some of them are just straight up evil. And Marvis just seemed like, I don't know, the nicer one. I know that sounds weird to choose this as the demon, but I was like, well, if I were to call upon anybody, it would probably be Marvis. So, and also I liked how, although this wasn't showed in the short itself, I liked how he appeared, because if you call upon him, he appears in many shapes, and one of them is a lion. And so this also kind of fascinated me to envision this. It's not exactly how I used him, but I don't know. All of the above made him really stick out to me. It was really different from the others. So
interesting. Yeah, he that particular demon offers knowledge on both curing and causing disease.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Depending on his mood that day.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so he can be nice. He can be vicious. It all depends.
Ooh, this is a good question. For the group, if you were to pair your short with any other feature film, what would it be? And I'm gonna call on Michael and Sarah first.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know, but
We'll get back to you at
for
the
non,
end.
maybe Annihilation, because they're both weird forest themes. I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe The Thing.
Maybe
horrible monsters.
My monsters, they're not horrible. They're lovely.
They're fantastically horrible. Wonderfully horrible. How about the getaway?
The Smash Hit film Monster House. That's what we'd pair it with.
Ah, nice. Ivan, how about you?
Well, frankly, no idea, to tell you the truth. It's like my mind tells me to go with some Carpenter movie, but is there really any relationship? Just because I like Carpenter doesn't mean that I should my film with his. But I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, can't find an answer in my head. Sorry.
Like an iconoclastic pairing might be like House.
Oh yeah.
Because the entire inside of the house kind of changes on its own. And Yarrow, how about you?
I really liked. I feel like it has at least something sort of connected with Hereditary, because of the aspects of the Lesser Key, and also the demon that he uses, Payman, which is also in the Lesser Key. So I guess I would, yeah, if I had to, I guess, yeah, that would be that would be the closest thing, I suppose.
Libby and Dan, how about you?
Dan, I'll let you take this one because I am drawing blanks.
Well, I'm just gonna cheat and say whoever did the Mean Girls pairing is inspiration.
Yeah.
I'll go with Mean Girls. That would be a great combo, I think.
Yeah, something that has to do with social media and like rituals. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, has
But
that
that's a
movie
good
been
question.
made yet? Maybe you should make that movie.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Yeah, I'll stick with Mean Girls. Nobody has to. They could just be mean to each other, and then ours could be the little like Bugs Bunny trailer beforehand.
Okay. Very nice. Well, I'm going to wrap this up and let you guys go on with your day, or go to bed, or get on with the rest of your day, get some coffee. And I just want to thank you all again for being here with us. Brian and I really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. Normally we would have you here in Portland in the gorgeous Hollywood Theater, but it's just not safe for us to have large gatherings like that. So we hope that someday you will be able to visit and experience the festival in our kind of our home away from home, which is the Hollywood Theater. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Oh, I forgot.
Thank you
Tell
so
us where we
much.
can find your projects. Like, where should we find you on social media or the internets, where we can find information about your projects? Ben.
So you can usually find most of my most recent stuff on my website, benfloss.com. I'm also on Instagram. Benfloss there's only one of me, so it's pretty easy to find.
Okay. Sarah and Michael.
The super easy to remember and spell Monsieur Cyr. If you look that up, I think we have like Instagram or Twitter and some other stuff which we negligent to post and we should probably update.
It's
But yeah.
Mr. Sister in French.
Yeah, so if you look up Mr. Sister in French, you'll get the name, and then it's like a puzzle.
Each one has about 10 vowels.
Yes.
Just-
Nice. We can actually see it on the screen.
Okay.
Oh,
there we
good.
go.
Yeah, there it
There we
is.
go.
Yeah.
That's the name. Michael and Sarah won't get you very far, but it's Monsieur Cyr.
No,
part one.
Monsieur Sir. Okay. And Ivan.
Well, I made a Facebook page for the film. It's at Exit Short 2020, so it's fairly easy to find. And I try to post any new developments regarding the movie over there, both in English and Russian. So, like, if anybody's interested, feel free to like the page or send me a friend request. Me personally, I don't mind either. So.
How about you, Yarrow? Where can we find you?
I also have a Facebook page for my short film, so The Lissaki of Solomon. You can find me on there. And also I have a website, basically my name, yarrowmaida.com. And yeah, and everything. Also, I believe the Instagram and Twitter and everything is all on that page. So yarrowmaida.com. That's the easiest way.
Cool. And Dan and Libby, do you have separate things, or do you have a collective?
Well, our film was on so it can be found in the 48-hour film winners categories. So if you go onto like the 48-hour film project website and just look up best films, we'll be in the Seattle category. So, and I'll let Dan pick up on.
Yeah.
I know he wants to promote what
Oh,
he
sure.
has on social.
Well, I have Flender Brothers on YouTube, which has this film and others I've written and some I've directed. And then just a group that I run, which anybody's welcome to join, whether they're in the area or not, is the Seattle Horror Filmmakers on Facebook, and meet up. You don't have to be in Seattle. You could be just a horror filmmaker. Love it if people come on and promote their films. These are great films in this group. And yeah, it's a great community. So we're just trying to build up a good horror community up just a little bit north of you.
Excellent. Again, thank you so much. And we'll cut it there. Thanks, everyone.
Cool, thank you.
All right,
Great films,
thanks.
Thank you very
everyone.
much. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having me.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Y'all killed it.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your night.